My friends, are reading from the Holy Gospel according to Saint Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
And Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. What profit would there be for one to gain the whole world and forfeit his life? Or what can one can give in exchange for his life? For the Son of Man will come with his angels in his Father's glory, and then he will repay each according to his conduct. Amen, I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." My friends, the good news of our salvation.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Good morning, my sisters. So today, allow me now to give you points for your own consideration, especially for this first Friday of August. And this will be a 45-minute presentation for your own profit, especially for your own monthly recollection. My friends, our topic for today is one foot forward and one foot grounded. I guess it is also good to recognize that when we say that one foot forward or one foot grounded, it means that there must be a balance between prayer life and also our own ministry or action life. We cannot deny the reality that right now we are basically journeying from the new normal moving to the new normal. Let's face the reality also that 5 months ago, we are actually in the normal that we used to know. And then suddenly we found ourselves right now in this what they call new normal. Now we are moving into the new normal, but we don't even know where is this new normal, when will it come, where will this new normal will end. Sometimes it is actually wrong to say that this new normal is normal because it is basically abnormal, because there are so many things that we are enjoying before that we are not enjoying right now. But it is basically a journey. Let's face the reality, my sisters and brothers, that we are journeying right now to a certain direction of returning to the normal, but we do not know when will it end. Unfortunately, my sisters and brothers, they say, when you look at the context of the Israelites traveling in the Old Testament, when they travel from bondage, moving to the promised land, in other words, moving from Egypt, moving now to the promised land, the Israelites traveled with Moses. But they need to move, because without moving, they cannot go to the promised land. And yet we realize also that in the end, there are so many people that in terms of temptations, we realize that most of the time, sisters and brothers, there are two temptations when we are journeying. The Israelites experienced these two temptations. All of us right now in this journey, moving away from this pandemic crisis, moving to the new normal, we realize that these two temptations experienced by the Israelites is also basically our own experience. What are those two temptations? The two temptations, sisters and brothers, is first of all, is the temptation to complain. Many people are complaining a lot right now. How come that we are not enjoying the life that we knew before? How come that we don't have a transportation? How come that until now we don't have a cure for this virus? How come that until now the government is not doing anything, because we realize that the number of affect or infected by this virus is increasing? So many complain. And somehow, the more we complain, the more we realize that we can feel that these things are out of control. The second reality when you are journeying is the temptation of comparing. We love to compare. Buti pa noon. Mas maganda ang ating buhay. Buti pa noon. It is always like that. We do a lot of comparing. We do a lot of comparing right now that in the end we realize that the more we compare, the more we complain, the more we realize that we can experience paralysis in our own life. And then in the end, we realize that because we cannot control anything right now, we experience hopelessness. We experience anxiety. We experience sadness. We experience even to the point of doubting God because we realize that in the end, it seems that nothing is happening. You know, sisters and brothers, that's the problem right now with regard to our own concern right now. Many people are experiencing deep anxiety and sadness and also depression. Did you know that even the psychiatrists will say that after this COVID or pandemic, people will still be under the curse of this COVID virus because many of us will have a mental depression. And so it is important for us right now, all of us right now, listening right now, to recognize that it is important for us to maintain our own sanity. But at the same time, also, we realize that the only way for us to maintain our own sanity in these things that which is beyond our own control is basically to put a good spiritual immune system in this COVID virus attack or pandemic. We realize that until now, there are no cure. There are no vaccines to cure us. That's why the doctors will always tell us right now that since there's no cure, the only way for us to be able to, in a way, not be affected by this COVID virus is to stay away from each other, to wear masks, to wear face shield. But at the same time also, the main component of fighting this COVID virus is by, in a way, strengthening our own immune system. That's why if we are always fighting that virus through our own physical immune system, we recognize also that the devil is actually attacking us here. The battle between good and evil is not only outside, but also here inside us, in our own mind, in our own hearts. That's why it's also good to recognize, my sisters and brothers, that the evil spirit is actually capitalizing the COVID crisis in order to destroy us. So, in some sense also, my friends, to protect our body against the COVID virus, it is important for us or necessary for us to strengthen our own immune system. But at the same time also, we have so many experiences of hopelessness, doubt, fear, anxiety inside us. We need also to protect or to strengthen our own spiritual maturity. In some sense, we realize that in order for us to protect ourselves by strengthening our physical immune system, the doctor will say you should have take good vitamins, you should have positive thinking, you should exercise a lot, you are supposed to expose yourself to sunlight and so on and so forth to be able for us to protect ourselves. In that context also, similarly, my sisters and brothers, we need also to strengthen our own spiritual immune system. In other words, if there's a vitamins for our body, we need also a spiritual vitamins for our spirit. And what is this spiritual vitamins? Well, basically, those are the Bible. We are supposed to read the Bible. We are supposed to attend the Mass to receive Jesus spiritually or physically because spiritual vitamins or spiritual food is necessary. Are you in a way also aware that you are also taking your own spiritual vitamins, like reading the Bible or attending the Mass every day, or in a way, having all those spiritual readings that you need to do? Those are very important. we consider also that positive thinking is necessary. No, I'm actually encouraging you, my sisters and brothers, in the Netflix. No, there's this beautiful documentary that I am actually suggesting for you to see. The title of that beautiful documentary is Heal, 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 which is basically will tell you that there's a connection between positive thinking and also the healing of our own body. And so we realize now that if positive thinking is necessary for our own strengthening of our own immune system, I guess also positive faith is also necessary. A positive faith of believing that the Lord will always be with us, that's actually very, very necessary. Exercise, we need it, we need it. But you know, in the spiritual realm, exercises means helping other people. It means going out of our own comfort zones. It means that we are not supposed to, in a way, in a way of be stopped or experience paralysis in our own life. That you don't want to go out of your own comfort zones and do something for other people. We need to exercise our body. We need to exercise also our own capacity to love other people. And that's basically necessary. Sunlight. They say, the doctor will say, every day you're supposed to go out there at around 8 to 10 in the morning and expose yourself in the sun. In the end, my sisters and brothers, we need also spiritual sunlight. And that spiritual sunlight is basically our own regular prayer, wherein we can experience the loving presence of God in our own prayer. You know, I remember St. Ignatius of Loyola, no, the founder of the Society of Jesus, will always insist and will tell the Jesuits who are sick to return home to be able to breathe the native air. That's why if you're from Manila, the St. Ignatius will say, go home to Manila. If you're from Bulacan, go home to Bulacan. Breathe the native air for your healing. In our own spirituality, sisters and brothers, when we feel that we are lonely, when we feel that there are so many anxiety coming in and fear in our own hearts right now, it is necessary for us also to return to our native home, God, to breathe the native air, the loving presence of God, in order for us to be able to get healed. That's why it is basically a journey, having realized that it is important for me also to strengthen my spiritual immune system to fight the spiritual battle ongoing right now. Aside from the COVID virus, it is basically a journey for us to be able to move and go and reach our new normal. Isang paglalakbay po ito, sisters and brothers. But how can I journey? How can I move from my own fear, moving to courage? From my own anxiety, moving to trust? From my own doubt, moving to my faith and commitment to the Lord? From my own darkness, moving now to the light. From my own desire to control everything in and moving now to, Lord, I allow you to control everything. It's a journey, sisters and brothers. No one will survive in this COVID virus if we do not know how to leave our own comfort zones or leave our own fear and miseries and darkness. We need to move right now. But this is the reason why our topic for today is more on the direction of uh, a person traveling. Now, look at this one, Sister and brothers. 1 foot forward, and 1 foot on the ground. Take note, no one can walk if both of your foot are on the ground. No one can walk if both of your foot are forward or elevated above the ground. you will definitely fall. The only way for you to move is one of your foot, one of your feet must be grounded on the ground, and the other one raised forward above the ground. And then grounded, raised forward, grounded, raised forward, grounded, raised forward. And slowly you realize that you are actually moving slowly because of your consistency between one foot on the ground and one foot forward. Now, what is the meaning of this one foot forward and one foot on the ground? My sisters and brothers, this is basically a realization that God is actually telling us and calling us right now, especially all of you, Mother Butler, to consider the importance of balance between prayer and also action. I do recognize that during the normal times, you, Mother Butler, have so many actions, so many apostolates. And then we realize also that you are also a prayerful person, but you need to take that balance between the two. The balance between the spirituality of prayer and also the spirituality of action. The balance between the spirituality of Martha, always working and working, and also the spirituality of Mary, always in contemplation and also listening to Jesus. The balance between faith and also action, because St. Paul have said, faith without action is dead. But I can also say, action without faith is also dead. So the balance must be there. The balance between the two for us to be able to walk. Check yourself, my sisters and brothers. In the midst of this COVID virus right now, how's your prayer life? In the midst of this COVID virus, how's your ministry? Can you say that there's a balance between the two, or are you just praying and praying and praying for 6 months right now and doing nothing, even for your own family? Or are you always in action, asking, where will I go, without even thinking that it is important for you to pray? The balance is necessary right now for us to be able to walk. Sisters and brothers, in the Bible, we can always hear Jesus using the word apostles and disciples. Is it the same? No, it's not. Discipleship is basically our own mode or moments when we are just listening to the Lord, trying to know the Lord, trying to deepen our own relationship with the Lord, trying to ground and allow our own faith, our own relationship deeply rooted in God's love, in the experience of God. This is basically the meaning of discipleship. But when you are about to enter Jerusalem, you're supposed to take right now not the discipleship, but apostleship. Because in the end, we are supposed to do something for other people. We are supposed to apply what we have learned. We are supposed to express to everyone what we have heard in our own prayer. Action is necessary because faith is nothing without action. So in that context also, that's why facing this COVID virus is both in prayerful mode, but at the same time also in our own action. Now, sisters, may I ask you the following question? How's your energy right now? If How's your energy in terms of facing this COVID virus? 10 is the highest, 1 is the lowest. What is your energy level right now? 5 months ago, before this COVID virus, what is your energy? If you feel that your energy is decreasing, ask yourself right now, what is the main reason why your energy or spiritual energy or your hope is actually decreasing? If your faith, in spite of the challenges of this COVID virus, is increasing, what do you think is the main reason why your faith is increasing. Sisters and brothers, we need to recognize right now that it is important for us at this very moment to know the main reasons why you have lots of fear, the main reasons why you have lots of anxiety, or your energy is actually decreasing. You may even ask, how come that until right now, 5 months of struggling in this COVID virus, and yet my faith is intact, or my faith is increasing? What is the main source of your own strength? Something for your own consideration, because this is very important. You know, sisters and brothers, sisters, let's face the reality that we are also, in a way, have recognized that this COVID virus or pandemic is actually, in a way, challenging our faith. Because faith, real faith, my sisters, are measured not in good times, but actually in bad times. We can say to the Lord, Lord, I love you. Not only when everything is okay, or when God is answering our prayer, or when we can control everything. But can we say, I love you, when we are in trials? When everything seems falling apart? When everything seems having no direction? Can you say to the Lord, Lord, I love you? My sisters and brothers, right now, we realize that many of us are questioning God. Many of us are, in a way, started to doubt God. Why? We realized, one thing that we realize right now, that in the end, my sisters and brothers, spiritual enlightenment, spiritual awakening, or spiritual maturity is a lifetime process. We are slow learners. The reason why sometimes we are questioning God right now is because it seems that God is not manifesting in the way we want him to be. In other words, we have already, in a way, put God in a box. Lord, this is you. You're supposed to act this way. You're supposed to answer my prayer. You're supposed to accompany us when we are in trouble. You're supposed to be with us and protect us in this COVID virus. And yet, how come that you're not here anymore? Suddenly we realize, my sisters and brothers, that we don't know God. Sisters, we are slow learners. It does not necessarily mean that if God is with us, or God is our own companions and friends, it does not necessarily mean that trials, persecutions, or facing sufferings and also pain will never be there. It will always be there. That's why we are supposed to be a disciples of Jesus, because we are supposed to bring light to those who are actually in darkness right now. Somehow, my friends, we missed the point, and we missed to see that God is actually telling us right now that the best mode of doing everything right now is to entrust everything to the Lord, be prayerful, but at the same time also be a person of action. Sisters and brothers, I guess this COVID virus is actually allowing us to experience God in different ways. In other words, the COVID virus is actually allowing us to unlearn something about God. It is also reorienting us in terms of understanding God. But at the same time also, God is also trying us to learn something about God, because many of us are so disappointed. Now, let's go to the gospel reading for today, my sisters and brothers, for us to be able to understand also our own present status, no? Because the gospel for today will allow us to understand us, no? It will allow us to understand ourselves. Now, our gospel for today is actually taken in Matthew 16. In the beginning of Matthew 16, the chapter 16, because our gospel for today started in Matthew 16, verses 24. But in order for us to be able to understand our gospel reading for today, maybe it's good to retrace and try to see what happened in Matthew 16, verses 1 to 23, which is crucial in terms of understanding what's happening to us. Now, what happened in Matthew 16, verses 1 to 23? One day, the Lord asked the disciples, "Who am I for you? Who am I for you? Sino ba ako para sa iyo?" Immediately, Peter raised his hand and said, "Lord, you are the Son of God. You are the Messiah." And that's actually a correct answer. The Lord was in a way edified and was happy that Peter gave the right answer. But unfortunately, few verses after that, when the Lord started announcing to the disciples that he will go to Jerusalem to be crucified, to be humiliated, to carry the cross, to be insulted, to die on the cross, but on the third day, he will rise again. That one, sisters and brothers, that one, Peter and the disciples cannot understand. Because for them, Jesus must remain a powerful God. Jesus must remain a powerful Lord. But how come right now Jesus is telling the disciples that he will die on the cross? Powerless God. That one, he cannot accept. And so he decided to pull out Jesus out of the blue and scolded Jesus and telling him, "You are not supposed to tell that to your disciples because they will be very, very disappointed." And the Lord said, "Get away from me, Satan. You are not doing what the Lord is requiring us to do. Get away from us, Satan." Sisters and brothers, this is basically also our own experience. In the time before COVID virus, where everything is okay, when everything is actually under our control, where we can eat wherever we go, where we can hug our friend, where we can be much more free wherever we go, where we can go abroad, when we can eat anything, when we can do anything, and then suddenly all those things disappeared. And yet during that time, we can say, "Lord, you are the Son of God. You are very, very powerful." Suddenly, out of the blue, we realize that right now, all those things are gone. Sisters and brothers, somehow the disciples at the very beginning, there are so many disciples followed him, not because of his words, but because of his action. Not because they want to know Jesus, but because they realize that Jesus can walk on water, can cure those who are sick, can cast away evil spirit. A very, very powerful God. I love this God. But unfortunately, they are actually following Jesus not for him, not for his words, not because they want to know more about Jesus, but because Jesus can give what they wanted. Sometimes this is us also. We adore God because this God is actually giving what we want. But right now, in the midst of this COVID virus, we are always praying for a vaccine. We are praying for the healing of our friends or even for our members of our community. And then suddenly we realize that God is not answering because one of our friends who are actually infected by virus suddenly died. And then we say, "Lord, how come that you have allowed my friend to die? You're not answering my prayer. How come, right, Lord, right now there are more than 100,000 people infected by the virus? Where are you right now?" And so we are actually questioning God. That's why the Lord said, my sisters and brothers, in this gospel reading for today, "I am your Lord, but I need to go to Jerusalem, to face Jerusalem, to become a powerless God, I will be insulted. You know, sisters and brothers, that's the fault with us, or that's the fault with the disciples. You know why? Because look at what Jesus have said. The Lord said, I will go to Jerusalem. People will insult me. I will be persecuted. I will die on the cross. But on the third day, I will rise again. You know what they have heard? That he will be persecuted, that he will be insulted, that he will carry his cross, nothing else, nothing more. They did not hear that after the crucifixion and death, the Lord will rise. Sometimes this is us, sisters and brothers. We are good in counting things which is not in us, but we are not good in counting our blessings. We are good in counting our miseries, but we are not good in counting the daily blessings that God is actually giving us. And that's the problem with us. We are not good in counting what we have, but we are good in counting what we do not have. And that's very, very frustrating, because that's not faith. Faith will always allow us to count our own blessings, and even to see that God is actually working also in our own darkness and miseries. But we don't have that faith, that divine sight to see that God is actually there. That's why in this gospel reading for today, Peter said, don't say to your disciples that you will die on the cross. Don't say that. Sisters and brothers, I guess the disciples failed to recognize that part of our own loving is actually sacrificing. Let's face the reality, sisters and brothers, that love will always mean pain. Let's face the reality also that love and pain, wound, and suffering are actually brothers and sisters. They are twins. They are intrinsically connected with one another. If you decide to love, you are now opening yourself to the possibility of pain, of suffering. So when someone is in pain and suffering, it is because of love. So you cannot say that I will love the Lord but not his suffering. I will love my family but not the pain that my family will give to me. I will love my country, but I will love everything as a part of my own country. Because loving and suffering is actually will go hand in hand. And so when the Lord said, I will love you, it means that he is willing to go and die on the cross and suffer for us, because that's the greatest manifestation of love. Love is not manifested when we give something as part of extensions of our life. No, love my sister and brothers, and when we give ourselves and not something which is actually part of our life. That's why in the gospel reading, there's this one beautiful conversation between the disciples and Jesus after the multiplication of bread. So many people following, sister and brother, so many people following him. And here comes one of the disciples telling, Lord, look at the people. They are following you. So many people. And the Lord said, you know, they are following me not because of me. They are following me because I multiplied bread, because I can feed them. That's the reason why they are following. Not because of me, but because I can make miracle for them. In that same context also, the Lord told the crowd, I am the bread of life. And then when everybody heard it, they said, what? You, the bread of life? That's blasphemy. And then from then everybody left, except the disciples. The Lord asked the disciples, what about you? Are you going to leave me also? But the disciples said, no, we will never leave you, because you have the word of eternal salvation. Sisters and brothers, sometimes we realize right now in this COVID virus, our faith is actually being tested. Are you also living because your prayers are not being answered? Are you in a way disappointed and frustrated in God because one of your friends are still sick and dying? Or someone whom we know died because of this COVID virus and God did not answer our prayer? Is God also telling you, what about you? Are you going to leave me also? That's why, sisters and brothers, the balance between 1 foot grounded and 1 foot forward is actually necessary because both action and prayer is very important right now. Now, when we return to our gospel reading for today, my sisters and brothers, I want you to learn three important lessons in this gospel reading for your own contemplation and learning, for you to be able to accept and to, in a way, understand what's happening in us. What are those three important lessons that I am proposing to you right now? The first, sisters and brothers, these are the three. The first, the need to embrace suffering and pain. Okay? The need to embrace suffering and pain. Second, discipleship is not a stroll in the mall. Discipleship is not a stroll in the mall. And number three, there is a hidden treasure in our own suffering. There is a hidden treasure in our own suffering. Let's go to the first one. First point, the need to embrace suffering and pain. My sisters and brothers, when the Lord said, I'm supposed to enter Jerusalem to save humanity, in the context of what's happening today in our world right now, our own Jerusalem is this new normal. This pandemic crisis is our own Jerusalem. It can make or break us. It can turn us to become like Judas or to become like Jesus or John, faithful until death. Where are you right now? Are you running away from this COVID virus? Are you running away from the different sufferings that we are experiencing right now? Don't reject it. We need to embrace that this is our own reality right now, sisters and brothers, because in the end, the only way for us to be able to survive this COVID virus is actually to embrace it, to adapt, to be able to find a creative way of navigating ourselves and our faith in order to go through with it. But we cannot fight it if we do not know how to embrace it. The only way for us to be able to beat our enemy is actually to know our enemy. That's the only way. That's why we're trying to study about this COVID virus, because that's the only way to beat our enemy. But we realize also that the Lord is telling us, I'm going to Jerusalem to die there and then also experience resurrection. That's the only way. In other words, the Lord is also telling you, what about you? When are you going to enter in your own Jerusalem? Are you in a way committed right now that this is our life? Let's do something about it. This is our life. Don't run away about it. Let's gather together as family, as one mother butler uh, mission guilds and find a solution. What can we do in our own little way? Action is necessary, because if we are not supposed to stretch our faith and our own spirituality, we may find ourselves totally helpless and insignificant in this COVID virus. Don't just pray. We're supposed to act. But don't just act. We're supposed to pray. The balance is necessary. And we realize that in the end, when Peter reprimanded Jesus about the cross, he was actually trying to reject the cross. We are not supposed to reject the cross, because in the end, we don't want to hear Jesus also telling us, get behind me, Satan. So, sisters and brothers, let's embrace our own suffering and pain. Because in the end, the pain and suffering that we are experiencing right now, if we know how to handle it, if it is coming from love because you decided to love God and you decided to love your family, that's why you are in pain right now, it is not a useless pain. It is a pain that can, in a way, convert and save people. Because of Jesus dying of the cross, we were saved. Because of you doing all those struggles, suffering, and wound for the sake of your own family, trying to gather your family together and also trying to help your neighbor or other people who are actually victims of this COVID virus, you're helping. In a way, your sacrifices and pain becomes the salvation for other people. So we need to go to Jerusalem. And our Jerusalem right now is nothing else but the pandemic moments that we are experiencing. Embrace it so that we may be able to adapt. Number two, sisters and brothers, discipleship is not a stroll in the mall. As I have said at the very beginning of my talk, people were following Jesus because they realized that Jesus is actually can make lots of miracles. But unfortunately, they are not following Jesus because of his words. They are following Jesus because they can gain or profit something. But in this gospel reading for today, the Lord said, discipleship means two things. Deny yourselves and carry your daily crosses. My sisters and brothers, in this gospel reading, we recognize that the more we deny ourselves, we are actually gaining our life. The more we realize that we lose a part of ourselves for the sake of other people, the more we realize that our losing is actually gaining for other people. What we have lost will always be a profit to other people. Our pain becomes part of the healing of other people. Our sacrifices becomes the source of joy for other people. That's why in the end, when we say that we deny ourselves, it means that it is just for the benefit of other people in the name of love. So it's not actually losing ourselves for the sake of losing, but it is actually losing ourselves for the sake of other people. It has meaning. It will always have meaning. Losing 100 million in a casino is actually useless. But losing 100 million for the sake of other people and feed them for this 1 million, it's actually something beautiful. Losing 100 million in casino, after that, nothing. But losing 100 million for other people is actually something that it will pain you, but it will gain certain level of joy, inner joy, satisfaction that no one can take away from you. Sisters and brothers, we cannot say that we have already gave if there's no ouch. Ang tunay pong pagbibigay may aray. Hindi po natin masasabi na nakapagbigay na tayo hanggat walang aray. And when you say aray, it means you're actually giving yourself already. You know, I remember one of my donor came here and said, "Para, I'm going to give you 30 cabans of rice." I'm so happy. Then after the week, I went to this person again. "Can you give me also another 30 cabans of rice?" And then that person said, "Sure, Father." After that, a month after, I came back and said, "Can you give also another 30 cabans of rice?" And the person said, "Father, it hurts because we don't have any job right now. It hurts. But I know that I need to give you another sets of 30 cabans of rice because I know that right now I am really giving because it is now hurting me. Without hurt, you are not yet giving." So if you realize that you are in a way suffering, you are in pain right now because you're doing something good in the name of love, you're actually giving. But if you're giving and helping, but there's no hurt, you are not actually in a way discomfort, you don't have, we are not experiencing any discomfort in giving, we are not giving. And so when you give your life for the sake of your own family, when you forgive yourself for the sake of your own family, and for the sake of other people, and you are hurting, you are wounded, you can feel the pain, the suffering, you are actually, in a way, really giving and really showing love to other people. We don't just give excess. We don't just give what we don't need. That's not giving. Giving is giving something that will hurt us. And the Lord said, die to yourselves for the sake of other people, for the sake of me. And then the Lord said, after forgiving yourself or forgetting yourself or denying yourself, carry your daily crosses. Now, what does it mean when the Lord will say that we're supposed to carry our daily crosses? What is our daily crosses? You know, this morning, sisters and brothers, I was actually, in a way, found myself so tired at the very beginning of this day, at the very beginning of my Mass. Because every day, sisters and brothers, I do have my own Masses, online Masses at 6:30 in the morning in my Facebook account. That's every day. This morning at around 4 o'clock, when I woke up, when I started preparing for my homily. And then after that, after an hour of praying and writing also in my own Facebook, and then after that, I came down at on my in my ground floor to prepare the mass. And then I realized, my sisters and brothers, that what I am actually doing for the past 6 months or 5 months are the same. Para ba ako napagod kaagad? Sabi ko, ano ba to? What I'm doing right now is actually I have done for the past 5 months. And I realized that the routine of doing the same things all over again is basically our daily cross. Sometimes we realize that sometimes because we are doing it every day, the same things all over again, from morning, from waking up until sleeping, the same things doing, the same things that we are doing since this COVID crisis. Sometimes we are becoming bored. And then we are questioning, where's life? And then we realize also that in the end, my sisters and brothers, I realize also that the real cross is in embracing and doing what's my best in my daily boring routine. But when I give everything of me, even if it is a routinary activity of doing the same things all over again, if I do it with great love, I realize that this is something beautiful. I'm actually carrying my daily cross because there's a dying in boredom. There's a dying on saying, I commit myself to things, doing the same things all over again because I realize that this is not for me, but this is for the sake of my family and for the sake of other people. Then I realized that I'm actually carrying my cross. So daily crosses means daily routine in the context of this COVID virus. But am I reacting right now? Are you reacting right now? Because you realize that it seems that you are not moving. But in the end, we also recognize, my sister, that what makes us right now is not on our own big decisions that we do in big things, but actually in how we treat our daily grind of ordinary things from morning until sleeping. Cooking, cleaning the house, talking to children, doing the same chore, going to the market, and so on and so forth. The same things all over again. But we realize that in the end, anything done, even if it is just an ordinary things, is great in the eyes of God, as Saint Therese will always insist. So, discipleship, my sisters and brothers, is not basically a walk on the mall, but discipleship is entering into that reality of embracing the life of self-denial and carrying our daily crosses, because we are basically following Jesus in his Jerusalem. And what is our Jerusalem? Pandemic. As long as we are in this darkness, we are in Jerusalem. And this Jerusalem can make or break you. This Jerusalem can turn you into a Judas, or it can turn you into, like any disciples, running away, leaving Jesus, carrying the cross alone. Or it can turn you like our Mother Mary and John, staying with Jesus until death on the foot of the cross. Where are you? Where is your faith right now, sisters and brothers? So the first one is the need to embrace suffering and pain. The second one is discipleship is not a walk in the mall, but it is basically denial of ourselves for the sake of other people and carry our daily crosses. And the last one is there's a hidden treasure in our own suffering and pain. You know, sisters and brothers, it is actually very ironic that the more we deny ourselves, the more we find ourselves. Napaka-ironic po nun, ha? The more you deny of yourselves, the more you find yourselves. We realize also that our loss will always be the gain of other people. We realize also that what we gain is actually a loss to other people. We realize right now that our suffering and pain is actually can heal other people. We realize that in the end, the things that we can, in a way, keep with us are the things that we have decided to let go or give. The things that will not stay with us are the things that we decided to keep for our own sake. I remember this one beautiful word mentioned by Jim Elliot, which is actually very interesting, sisters and brothers. Jim Elliot is actually a person who died fighting for our faith against the natives somewhere. And Jim Elliot said the following quotes, and I quote, "He is not a fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose." I'm going to repeat it. He is not a fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose. Kaya nga in the end, sisters and brothers, am I really a fool if I'm giving something that I cannot keep, like wealth, power, fame, talent, treasure? If I realize that I cannot keep it and give it to someone in order to gain something, which is basically the life eternal or what God pleases him, which we cannot lose. Sometimes, my sisters and brothers, our own tendency is actually to keep many things, no? To acquire many things. Coming in, we are always acquiring many things. But in the end, we realize that one of these days when all of us will face death, or one of these days, if you realize that in this midst of crisis, we realize that money is nothing, or fame is nothing, reward is nothing, or we realize that any position is useless. It takes death for us to realize that everything is useless. It takes a pandemic for us to recognize that everything is temporary. It takes this COVID virus to recognize that the most important things are the things that cannot be seen, especially love, forgiveness, presence, friendship, companionship. This COVID virus is actually teaching us so many things that we need to unlearn something that we have learned, that we need to reorient our own values, our own priorities in life, that we need to realize also that this pandemic virus is also teaching us new lessons of life. That in the end, we cannot control everything. That in the end, we need to allow the Lord to be in control of our own life because He knows what's best for us. We may know what's good for us, but God knows what's best for us. I guess it is now high time to stop asking questions. How come that this COVID virus is here? Saan ba ito nanggaling? Why God is actually allowing this COVID virus? Such questions is life defeating question. It's useless. To question why this virus is actually here is actually a useless question. To us, until now, saan ba ito nanggaling? Is it really came from China? It's useless. A person who has faith in God will by this time will stop the question why, but will go for the question what can we do? The balance between prayerful life, prayerful life is necessary, and also action is necessary. Today, my sisters and brothers, in this COVID virus, we realize that we cannot understand everything. We cannot understand also God. There are so many mysteries in life that we cannot understand. We cannot understand why a good person, a very, very faithful person, a very generous person suddenly died of COVID virus. We cannot understand why until now there's no cure or vaccines with this virus. How come that God seems so silent in our own struggle? We cannot understand. We cannot understand why some bad people are not infected by the COVID virus. We cannot understand. We cannot understand our faith right now. We cannot understand. Bringing us to a certain reality that we cannot understand everything, that our spirituality will always be, that for us to be able to understand everything in our faith will always be a lifetime process. That's why, sisters and brothers, we need to be more open right now to that reality also that unlearning what we have learned is necessary. Reorienting our own values and also priorities are necessary. And we realize that it is important for us to learn something new in this COVID virus. Now, the problem is when or where can I learn new things? Where can I, in a way, be oriented by God or unlearn something in order to learn something new? Well, everything will always come and will take place in our prayer. Never ever ignore your prayer, especially in this COVID virus moments. Prayer is the only way for us to be able to have a sense of understanding or a glimpse of our understanding or even the courage to trust God in the seemingly uncontrollable moments of our life. We need to be grounded on our faith. One foot forward, one foot grounded on the faith, necessary. And yet, prayer our life must not stop in praying. Because real prayer, sisters and brothers, will always disturb us to go forward. Real prayer will always disturb us to allow us to open our hearts, our mind and hearts to say, there are so many people who are less unfortunate or less fortunate than us. We need to do something about it. When we realize that we are so blessed, we need to do something about it in our own little way. But how can we know that we are actually giving something if there's a hurt, if there's an awry? Sisters and brothers, sisters, never ever allow this COVID virus to destroy you. In body, protect your body as much as possible, but most of all in spirit, because that's the most important thing right now, not just to protect our body, but to protect our own spiritual well-being, which is being attacked now by the evil spirit. Protect it. Be vigilant. We are so conscious in terms of cleansing our hands, or trying to wear our face shields and face masks. We are so conscious in the 1.5-meter distance. That's good. But are we also vigilant in terms of protecting my mind, of discerning in terms of what I'm supposed to entertain in my mind or bring into my mind? Do I really know how to, in a way, say no to anxiety and useless anxieties that's coming, and entertain only the Holy Spirit in my mind? I need to be more vigilant about it, because we might we might survive physically the COVID virus, but we may not survive the attack of the evil spirit in our own mental and also spirit and heart. And that's actually much more dangerous. That's why, how to protect? Easy. One foot grounded on the ground. Be prayerful, be rooted in God's love. But the other foot must be raised, elevated, and forward, looking, more hopeful, more generous, more looking forward that God will always protect us. So, and therefore, I need to go and leave my own comfort zones in order to make a difference to other people.